All right, we're live. I could take us live on all of the things. Did any huge news break? 3 new modes revealed on Star Wars Battlefront, but it's still only in beta. And Pepsi's launching a smartphone.
Yeah,
the P1.
That one just sort of keeps trickling out as each news organization realizes they have a hole to fill in their posting schedule.
Yeah, it's one of those days, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Here we go.
Hey, Dad, can you lend me $1, please?
Yeah, sure. Why?
Because I want to donate to Daily Tech News Show.
What? How are you going to do that?
I'm going to head over to patreon.com/acedetect, and if you all like the show, then you can donate too.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, October 12th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, as she does most Mondays, Ms. Veronica Belmont, host of Dear Veronica on Engadget. How's it going, Veronica?
fantastic. Happy Monday, Tom.
Happy Monday. What a glorious weekend of baseball we witnessed.
Oh, don't get me started. Yeah.
We'll leave it there. Okay. No reason to chase that story. Also joining us, Tim Stevens, editor-at-large at CNET.com, who is just back from CEATAC in Japan. How's it going, Tim?
I'm doing quite well. Baseball also popular in Japan, and I also have no idea what happened in the Japanese baseball scene or the U.S. baseball scene, so I can't help you there.
So they weren't buzzing about it at CEATAC?
No, sorry. Mostly components and circuits and such like that.
It was utterly horrifying.
Sorry to hear it.
Kind of was. That's good. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about robots at CEATAC and maybe a few other things, but let's start off with some headlines. Fred, Star Fury Zeta, even Abituela con Dulce all submitted articles about Dell announcing it will acquire enterprise storage company EMC in a deal worth approximately $67.1 billion, making it the second largest tech merger yet. Second to the highly successful $106 billion AOL Time Warner merger. Dell CEO Michael Dell will become the CEO of the combined company, and EMC's federated approach to its subsidiaries will supposedly continue, including leaving VMware as a publicly traded company. Dell will own 28% of VMware in the new arrangement. Now, the EMC federation currently includes VMware, RSA, Pivotal, VirtuStream, VCE, and something called EMC2. I'm assuming that is a second series of 5-year missions with the same cast. EMC has 60 days to find a better offer, and a lot of people are starting to speculate if there could possibly be anybody with deep enough pockets to want to come forward and do that, and the deal is expected to be closed in mid-2016. But this is Dell's play to become an enterprise cloud services company, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it seems like a pretty natural fit, actually. Dell's had really strong server presence already. This allows them to layer more and more services on top of that, and ultimately I think this is going to be a lot more successful than the AOL Time Warner merger that you mentioned earlier, even if it is slightly lower value.
Yeah, and probably, you know, in inflation-adjusted terms, it's a lot lower value, and I think that makes more sense. That was of the dot-com boom era. This is Dell doing some interesting moves, going private with Silver Lake as partners. Silver Lake encouraging this acquisition. EMC looking for some kind of acquisition like this. Gives Dell a lot of different ways to move, a lot of different subsidiaries they can easily spin out if it doesn't fit into the strategy. So overall, a very interesting move by Dell and going to turn Dell into something entirely different in the future. I also think, as a side note for consumers, it points to the commoditization of PCs. I mean, that is now settled. HP is splitting up into 2 companies. That's their way of dealing with it. And PCs are not going away. They will still be made, but they will be kind of a side thing that you throw in with other deals.
Yep, totally agree.
Acer announced 2 new Windows 10 computers at a press conference in Taipei, both with improved speech accuracy and reduced eye strain. The 14-inch Aspire R14 hybrid comes with Intel's Skylake processor and up to 8 gigabytes of DDR3L system memory, available from the end of the month. The range starts at $699 in the US and €799 in Europe. No UK or Australia pricing yet. The Aspire Z3 700 all-in-one PC has a 5-hour battery, a kickstand, and a 1920 by 1080 17.3-inch touchscreen display. The Z3700 comes to Europe by year's end, beginning at €599.
I feel like the Aspire gets most of the attention here because people are kind of hybrid tablet crazy this month with all the different announcements like the Pixel C and the Surface Book and the Surface Pro 4. But the idea of putting a battery in your all-in-one computer, I find fascinating. I don't know if I want it or if I need it, but for €599, it's a luggable. Is that what they used to call them?
Unlockable.
They did, yeah. The early laptops had these tiny little displays, and they were called lookables. And in case anybody's wondering about the iStream portion of this announcement, basically they're running a software similar to Flux on the Mac, which just kind of turns down the blue levels on your monitor. So nothing particularly fancy going on there.
You can leave it on at night.
You can. Sleep a little easier.
Yeah, blue light as bad. You should no blue light within 2 hours of going to sleep. It screws up your sleep cycles.
Yeah,
That's science.
Keep that Nintendo off in your bedroom. Facebook announced today it's testing new shopping features in its mobile app, including Buy Now buttons. Users who tap on ads can go directly to shopping pages without redirecting to another site. Businesses can also display items for sale on their own Facebook pages. A new shopping section on the Facebook app will feature products from a select group of businesses. So I guess only 2.3% of shopping is happening on mobile these days, something like that. People are trying to get you to do more shopping on your mobile device because people are spending more time on their mobile device. Do we want that though? I feel like I don't want to shop on my mobile device as a way to stop myself from spending too much money.
It's very easy. I mean, that's one problem for me is I do use a couple of different mobile shopping apps through, to varying amounts throughout the years. When Gilt first came out, when it launched its mobile app, I was on that thing all the time. I hardly use Gilt at all anymore these days, but I can definitely see Facebook with its massive mobile penetration, like really blowing this thing up in a major way.
This also seems to point toward the continued segmentation of the internet, which is a little bit worrying. Now we're going to have more and more ways to do more and more things, and should I do my purchases through a dedicated app, through the website, through Amazon, through Facebook? It's going to get harder to figure out how to do
Don't you want more options?
Yeah, options are good, but it just means I got to look more places before I finally buy the thing. Cross-shopping sucks.
Yeah, but if it's the same thing, if you have the opportunity, if you're going to buy something on Amazon, it's not going to really make a difference to them whether or not you buy it on their website or on their mobile app, or if you're shopping on Everlane, if they have a mobile app, that's good. It's more convenient for the user, but I think to the company, it doesn't really make that much of a difference how you get to the buy button.
Yeah, the seller doesn't mind so much, but me as the consumer, if I've got Facebook payments on Facebook, and I don't want to have to open 3 apps to shop around, but none of the shopping comparison sites can get into the Facebook system to compare it. So it does kind of nudge you towards locking yourself in, doesn't it?
That feels like a bit of an edge case, I think. I don't know if as many people are actually doing as much. I mean, I could 100% be wrong here, but maybe people aren't comparison shopping on mobile as much or thinking about that. I feel
you're right. They're not
buys.
shopping enough. Apparently, that's the whole reason Facebook is trying to do this.
I think it's really great for that impulse buy market, where if you see someone talking about something on your Facebook news feed, and you're like, "Oh, that T-shirt is really great." All it does is it takes one click. They already have all your payment information. They have your address, and it'll auto post to your feed, being like, "Bought this great new T-shirt." So I think that's going to be really easy to use and very easy for people to start spending a lot of money.
Just tap to bankruptcy.
There you go. Engadget reports Qualcomm is selling its augmented reality business to PTC, an Internet of Things company. PTC is buying the 5-year-old Vuforia platform, SDK, and developer ecosystem.
Interesting that Qualcomm kind of jumping out of the business. They bent over backwards in their press release to say that they're not leaving innovative things. Don't worry about that. I think they're just realizing that this particular part of the business is not where they're specializing. Same way that Intel sold OnQ over to Verizon for video, and PTC thinks that they can make a go of it. So if you are in that Vuforia ecosystem, apparently PTC will just keep it going, and you shouldn't have to change much.
I think this was more of a demonstration platform for Qualcomm to show off all the cool things you could do with their other technologies anyway. So it didn't really seem like they were going to make a go at actually being a profitable endeavor. So maybe PTC can make it work.
Get ready for ReRAM, folks. Keep that acronym in your head. It promises cheap, low-power memory, and HP and SanDisk have announced that the companies are working on new memory technology with 1,000 times the speed and endurance of flash. The new memory will be based on memristor technology, ReRAM technology that HP invented in 2008. If that sounds familiar, it's because just back in July, Intel and Micron announced 3D XPoint, which is spelled XPoint, but they insist that you pronounce it Crosspoint. 3D XPoint memory is promised to have 1,000 times the performance and endurance of NAND flash and 10 times the density of DRAM. Now, this all sounds great until you realize that you know what? HP did invent that memristor technology 7 years ago, and they still haven't brought it to market, and there's no release dates for any of this stuff yet.
I was going to go with 10 point myself.
10 point, 3D 10 point.
10 points to Gryffindor.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I really want this to be true. I want it to be true so bad. I'm so concerned that this is just going to be vapor hardware. At least in the near future. Or it's just not going to work nearly as well as they're saying it's going to work.
Here's a fun story. You may have heard of how Sanjay Ved managed to buy the Google.com domain name for just $12 from Google Domains, which was, of course, immediately canceled. According to PCMag.com, Ved was contacted by Google Security a week later and offered a reward for finding the bug. He asked that money be donated to the Art of Living India Foundation charity. Google agreed and doubled the amount. I couldn't find what the actual amount was.
Yeah,
so
they haven't let that.
They didn't post that. So it could be a lot of money, could be, a moderate amount. But
They just gave him his $12 back.
Yeah, they're like, we're donating $24 to the charity. No, I'm sure it was something pretty substantial, but that was a bit of a bug that he found, or a bit of mistake there.
And from all appearances, this is a hacker, okay? This is the real definition of a hacker who found something, was like, ooh, does this work? Can I actually register Google.com? But did the right things with it. Did not use it for ill, did not try to hijack anything. He didn't have a lot of time to work with it before it was rescinded anyway. And Google doing the right thing, saying, hey, you know what? That's a really scary bug you found. Thank you for that. And him saying, look, I didn't do it for the money. Why don't you help out this charity that I'm interested in? And Google saying, you know what? Well, since you're giving it to charity, we'll double it. So it's one of those rare instances where I feel like everybody did good things.
Smiles all around.
Yeah. TV Zegon says in the chat room that signs point to about 10K. I don't know what his source is on that amount. Mm-hmm. It might just be, all signs point to probably being $10,000.
The Art of Living India Foundation just wrote a $10,000 check for something. Is that?
There you go. Yeah. They wrote a letter on their website. Thanks to Google for donating $10,000.
We just paid $10,000 off on our credit card. Mm-hmm. The New York Times passes along Larry Celebra's discovery that news saved locally in the Apple News app was inaccessible while he was in China. Now, that may not surprise you, but listen to the details. Celebra pointed out the issue last week on Twitter and elaborated in a post on Reddit. Even though the news was purchased and downloaded in the U.S., while connected to any Chinese network, firewalled or not, even on VPN, he couldn't do anything but see the headlines. He couldn't tap to open it. He couldn't refresh. He would just get a message, can't refresh right now. News isn't supported in your current region. So he did some tests on the borders of Hong Kong where he could connect to Chinese ISPs as well as Hong Kong ISPs. And he found that when he was connected to the Hong Kong ISPs, he could use the news app just fine. But when the phone knew he was connected to a Chinese ISP, it didn't read the IP addresses. So it didn't matter if he was using VPN. It just disabled the news app.
Wow. Yeah, I heard a lot of people were talking about this story today, so I'm not surprised to see it here. But very interesting that it doesn't even work over VPN. That's pretty surprising.
It implies that Apple is taking the precaution in China of saying, we're going to detect in the operating system when you're connected to this list of ISPs and disable the news app when you are, no matter what you are connected to otherwise.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how that works, but yeah.
Well, they would just use the carrier connection. So it would ignore IP addresses. It would ignore VPN. It would just look in the settings and say, what carrier are you on? If you're on that carrier,
well, what
boom.
about over Wi-Fi? Would that work?
Well, it would probably see. That's an interesting question. He said he had it happen when he was over Wi-Fi in a hotel, so they must have detected some other way what internet connection he had there. That's a good point.
Curious. The next web reports OnePlus will begin assembling devices for the Indian market at the Foxconn plant in Andhra Pradesh by the end of the year. Foxconn will also build products there for Asus and Xiaomi. OnePlus India General Manager Vikas Argwal said that it is likely that those savings could translate to lower prices for customers in India, which is
That
great.
makes sense. Yeah. Keep the shipping costs down for one thing.
Absolutely.
And I imagine that the labor costs are not that much different one way or another from China. So good news for fans of OnePlus in India. Today, Singapore showed off a self-driving modified Mitsubishi Motors Corporation electric vehicle with a top speed of 30 kilometers per hour. The car was part of projects run by the Singapore MIT Alliance for Research and Technology, aka SMART, along with the National University of Singapore, aka NUS in the U.S. Two self-driving vehicles have begun testing at a Singapore research estate. Singapore hopes autonomous vehicles can encourage public transport, cut down on traffic congestion, and even reduce the number of truck drivers needed, which has apparently been a bit of an issue. Pang Kiong, permanent secretary in the Ministry of Transport, told Reuters, trying to look for bus drivers and truck drivers can be a big challenge for us. Singapore has not got a huge population, and a lot of people don't want to drive a truck. So sometimes they have a hard time finding enough drivers.
One of the things that they're looking into is a technology called pontooning, which is where basically one truck will be able to autonomously follow another truck. So you do have a human driver up front, but then you could have 4 or 5 or 6 trucks following behind it very closely, all of which are automated, effectively just doing whatever the lead driver does. That kind of thing is pretty easy to implement, and Volvo actually had that kind of thing working about 10 years ago. So that might be a pretty easy solution for them. As far as this car goes, it's a version of the Mitsubishi iMEV, which is the little EV that you can buy right now if you want to, but you'll have to drive it in the U.S. anyway, yourself.
You have to use your hands to drive it in the U.S.?
Yeah, feet too.
Damn it. Even feet? Like Fred Flintstone, or just touching the accelerator?
Just the pedals. Just the pedals.
I think this is great. I mean, more and more regions of the world are getting in on testing self-driving cars. If you had to guess, Tim, is Google's 2020 target of having self-driving cars available for the public maybe even too negative, too pessimistic?
Well, it depends how you define a self-driving car. Volvo's going to have their self-driving car available in 2017, actually, but that car you'll have to get on the highway and then press a button, and it'll basically continue to drive along the highway on its own. It'll drive as long as you want, but only on the ring roads around Sweden. So that's going to be earlier than 2020. If we're talking about an actual car that you can get into and punch in your destination and take a nap, I think 2020 is pretty reasonable in limited areas. I think in the Bay Area we might see those in 2020, but me in upstate New York, it's going to be a lot longer than that, because dealing with snow and leaves blowing across the road and all sorts of problems like that, those are very difficult situations that a lot of engineers haven't even begun to crack yet.
Veronica, would you give up your car if self-driving cars became widespread in the Bay Area?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my car is worthless now, so.
Well, besides the fact that you have a diesel Audi. Yeah. Let's say you didn't, though. Let's say that came back. Apparently, the resale value isn't tanking as bad as people thought, but leaving that aside.
I absolutely would. I would just give up I'm kind of mentally prepared to give up a car in any case at this point, just because driving and parking in San Francisco is such a pain in the butt. But I would be willing to give up that. I can just get in Ubers and cabs now anyway, and they take me where I need to go. So if a car just came and picked me up, that would be fine by me.
I wonder, I'm kind of thinking within the next 3 years or so, it's going to be time to trade in our oldest car and get something else. And I wonder if I'll need to. Yeah,
maybe we just don't own cars anymore. We've had this conversation before. Times on the show, but I'm totally okay with the idea of, nobody owns cars. We all just call up a self-driving car. It picks us up, takes us where we need to go, and then picks up the next person and continues onward.
Except for Tim, because he's out where that might not.
That's okay. Exactly. I like to drive. I don't mind. And I have nice roads around here, too, so it's just fine by me.
Well, you can drive into the self-driving car hub and then take a self-driving car.
You'll have to do. I mean, at some point, probably human-driven traffic in cities will be banned, so you'll have to do that. You'll have to park somewhere outside the city and take a train or an autonomous Uber into where you're going.
Wow.
Which might not be so bad either. I mean, I think that would be a lot of peace of mind for me in terms of going to new cities. And, if I could drive to the outskirts of LA and then just get out of my car and go to a pub and pick up a car for the rest of my trip, that would be fine. I'd be totally down with that. If I didn't have to worry about parking or paying cars or like figuring out how to get places.
I just realized that the pub industry should be like definitely funding self-driving car research.
Absolutely. Be a big business for them. And a big business for Boston as well, because nobody can find their way around Boston. So if you can't drive in Boston, it'll be great.
Yeah. And believe me, I've tried. I totally agree with you. Submit your stories, folks. Vote on them. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Let us know what stories you'd like us to have in the show. It definitely has an effect on the lineup. Go to dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com, and that is a look at the headlines. Robots. Every year there are robots at CEATAC. CEATAC is in Japan. Japan full of robots. But Tim, you were saying that the robot that captured everyone's heart at CEATAC this year was also a cell phone.
Yes, he had a name. His name was Robo-Bjorn. He's basically a little toy robot that actually is on the market already, but Sharp kind of took that design and augmented him with Android and turned him into a smartphone. They also added a camera to his nose, basically, and a pico projector in his forehead. So he's kind of like an all-purpose multimedia device that can walk around and dance to the whatever music that you're playing. But yes, he's a pretty cute little guy. He will take your selfie if you want to, and then he can project your selfie on the wall. If you're doing a video chat with somebody, it'll project their image on the wall. Like I mentioned, he can dance. He's a pretty good dancer, too. And if you take a call, probably the best thing is he leans back and he puts his arms up like this, and then you pick him up and you hold him to your face, and you can make a call on a robot baby thing, which is a little bit weird. But other than that, pretty cute.
I want that. Why is this not a thing here? Can this be a thing here? Can we make this a thing here?
You probably can. It will be available in Japan the first half of next year. They didn't give any indication of price. Certainly they won't be coming to U.S. carriers officially, but yeah, I'll bet you could import one without too much trouble.
Oh, if I could have a little robot friend that could, say my text messages to me, it could take my calls for me, it could be a cute little dancing music player. I think I'd really like that. That would be fun. I mean, technology should be fun, and we're so addicted to our phones and tablets at this point. Yeah, maybe he doesn't have a screen. That's one downside, but we could find.
There's a screen on the back. It's small.
Oh, does it have a pretty good screen? Okay.
It's not a very good screen. It's, I think, a 2-inch screen on his back. It's a capacitive LCD. It's big enough for about 4 icons. We didn't get a lot of time to actually use him, but it looked like you could launch simple apps, and it's not like you're going to be playing Angry Birds on there or anything, but you can install apps and run them on there if you want to. So yeah, I mean, he's got the potential to be a general purpose. It's just there were a couple weird things, like, as I mentioned, talking on him is a little bit strange to hold a robot to your head, and he actually kind of whispers in your ear when you're talking on him, which is also a little bit weird. The other thing is, how do you carry Robo-Bjorn? We saw a lot of Sharp representatives walking around with him in these little like slings around their neck, effectively, kind of like maybe 90s rapper style with a big clock, but instead of a big clock, a big robot hanging around your neck.
It could be like a little sling.
Like a Robo-Bjorn?
Yeah, exactly.
Robo-Bjorn, and just sit him right there in the center, or he could be on like a little hip. You could have like a little hip flask holder on the side there, and just like stick him on the side. I think there's fashionable ways around this problem.
But that was it. He's very cute, but yeah, no plans for U.S. release yet.
So big with the ASMR crowd because he whispers in your ear, and you talk into his feet. I'm going to say charitably, that seemed to be the weirdest part to me. I mean, aside from just holding a robot to your face. That not bother anyone else?
At least he's not like a face hugger. Like he doesn't like clamp on around your face and talking to his stomach.
That's going to be the next wave, right? You get the alien face hugger.
Or he just sits on your shoulder. See, all right, I solved 2 problems with one idea. Sits on your shoulder. That's how you carry him. He sits right there like a little dragon at Dragon Con, and then he just whispers all your text messages and phone calls directly into your ear.
And bad ideas too.
Yeah.
Can he do bone conduction? Can he like lean up against you and then you don't have to speak out loud? You can
I don't think so, unfortunately.
This is getting creepier. Okay, so he sits on your shoulder, and then to do your calls, he just touches your face, touches the side of your face, and the vibrations go into your jaw.
Just one little paw.
Just a little paw
up against you. Yeah.
He also sits by your bed and watches you sleep, and then wakes you up in the morning and tells you all the things that you need to do during the day. So
Really?
Robo-Bjorn will be watching you while you sleep too.
That's actually real?
That is actually real. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I didn't read your article, Tim.
That's okay. I didn't either.
But I'm okay with that. I mean, why are we not? We always dreamed of having robot helpers, and we're finding all these weird ways around just having a robot that you carry around with you. I don't need AI. I don't need Siri. Like, why did we skip past the physical robot helper in our homes?
Yeah, I think it's always just been a question of cost of having, how much is it going to cost to have a life-size robot walking around the house that can do things for you. And that's something that they're definitely working on in all seriousness in Japan, because they have a population that's getting older, and they're having a hard time making sure that everyone is getting the care that they need. And so having a robot caretaker is a very big and important thing in Japan. But ultimately, that was surprisingly not something that we saw in this year's CEATAC for whatever reason. It just wasn't a big theme in this year's show, although it typically is. But instead, we saw Robo-Bjorn, who's maybe not quite so useful, but certainly pretty cute.
Now, on the useful side, you did write up about Laundroid from Seven Dreamers Laboratories, Panasonic, and Daiwa House, which is built into your house. The idea, they say they have a roadmap that by 2020, they want to have it so that they integrate this thing into your house. You dump your laundry into chutes. It's automatically cleaned, folded, and reappears in your appropriate drawer or closet. What they demonstrated on stage at CEATAC, though, wasn't exactly that, was it?
No, it was basically a glowing door in a very ominous-looking black cabinet, and basically they had a woman take a white shirt, which was all rumpled up, and she stuck it into a drawer, and then she turned around and spent 5 minutes talking to us about random things, market share and investment and that kind of thing. Meanwhile, the robot was presumably behind the door doing its thing, and then 5 minutes later, the door opened and out folded a not quite perfectly, but pretty nicely folded shirt anyway. We were allowed to take a peek behind the curtain and see that there was indeed a robot back there folding, and that they didn't just have an individual hiding.
So you saw the robot in the act of folding?
We saw the robot in the preparation for folding. They wouldn't actually let us see him doing the folding, but there would have been no way to sneak somebody in there to make it happen. So I believe that it did happen.
All right.
But they were being very, very careful about other companies seeing the proprietary mojo. I mean, as you can imagine, a pretty difficult task to have a vision system look at a rumple of clothes and figure out what type of clothing it is, how it should be folded, and then, of course, to take the next step and identify who owns this piece of clothing and which cabinet it should go in, that kind of thing. Pretty difficult task. But it did pull it off, and 5 minutes seems like a long time to fold a shirt, but it also takes my Roomba 4 hours to vacuum something that would take me 20 minutes, and that's okay because it's doing its own thing. You can imagine this running all night long. Who cares, as long as your laundry is done in the morning. But yeah, this is the first step. They want to have 2017 this model available to consumers, which is basically you dump your laundry in, it comes out. The next step would be you dump all your laundry in, it gets washed and then folded, and then it comes out. And then the final step, as we mentioned, would be a whole home integration where everybody has their own closet with a chute. You don't dump your laundry in as it goes, and then just pops in your drawer, folded, neatly cleaned, whenever you want it.
Does it know, and does it know like what kind of washing that particular article of clothing needs?
I'm guessing there would have to be some kind of a system where you tag and you enter your clothes into the system so that it knows who owns this shirt and how it should be washed and that kind of thing.
You could do RFID in the collar stays.
Yeah, you certainly could. Lots of options, lots of intriguing possibilities. They really didn't want to talk too many details at this point for a variety of reasons, probably because they don't know the answers to a lot of these.
Probably because it's not real yet.
Exactly. But there is a huge investment by these companies. Daiwa House is Japan's leading manufacturer of homes. Panasonic, of course, is huge, and they've invested a lot of money to make this work. So I think we'll see it. I think 2017 might be a bit optimistic. 2020 probably is too. But they're definitely trying to make it work.
Any other robots you saw? It sounded like it was a little thin on the ground for robots at CEATAC.
Yeah, there were a few walking around, but there weren't really anywhere near as many as we saw. Just last year, there were dozens of robots.
Walking around.
Well, literally. Last year, for example, there was a Velociraptor robot that was walking around and a bunch of others. There was one other ping pong playing robot, but that was actually just an improved version of one that we saw last year. So, yeah, it was strange. Not as many robots as we're used to.
If you had to say what the CEATAC big thing was this year, what would it be?
Big thing. Well, it's always all about components, and so the big thing is always smaller, lighter, more efficient. Probably some of the cooler things we saw were on display technology. I think probably that was the biggest thing. So we saw some new curved and freeform displays, basically displays that can be any shape you want. They don't have to be square. They don't have to be circular. Those will be in next generation cars, so you can have kind of a round display or a curved display that fits in the center of your dashboard. That's pretty cool. And higher resolution displays too. We saw one that had a 918 pixel density, which was a 4K display that I think was 9 inches across, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about the number of pixels in that thing. But the idea being you put that in a VR headset and suddenly you've got this amazingly clear picture in a tiny little display, which works well. We saw 8K displays, 10K displays for the first time too. So display technology was probably the biggest thing this show.
And so for people who don't necessarily know, CEATAC it's larger than CES, is that correct?
I think in the past it was. At this point, it shrunk. It was actually hurt quite a bit after the effects of the tsunami a few years ago. So it is rebounding now, which is good to see. But it's interestingly much more of a component-focused show. So while we do see interesting concepts and crazy devices walking around, usually they are there to show off some new sensor or some new semiconductor that will ultimately be appearing in next year's phones. So while there won't be that many consumer products launched at CEATAC typically, you'll see a lot of components that will show up in next year's consumer products. So it's a great place to go to get a kind of a sneak peek of the devices that we'll be seeing next year.
All right, let's get to our pick of the day. Rico from Belgium noted that Eric Olander on Friday was talking about how Africa is getting a couple more submarine cables connected to it. And Rico says, want to see which ones they are? What's the ping from one continent to another? How many cables are connecting continents? What's the bandwidth between them? All of that and much more is on Telegeography's submarine cable map at the unwieldy but accurate URL of submarine-cable-map-2015.telegeography.com. We'll have the link in the show notes as well. Rico says, definitely check out their web version, but better yet, get the printed map. I have a big one in my office, and it is a geek's delight.
Ooh.
That is a cool site. I saw that posted on Reddit last week, and I was clicking around. That is a very fascinating site to see how everything is connected, or not connected in some cases.
Yeah, you can kind of see where those connections are, and if you keep looking at these kind of maps over time, you'll see how like Africa used to have one submarine cable going to it. Now it has, as Eric was talking about on Friday, multiples, which is, making bandwidth possible in ways that it had never been before, leading to an explosion of video broadband services, especially in South Africa. So this is really cool. Thank you, Rico, for sending that along.
And you can buy that wall map as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very pretty map.
Maybe I should put one up.
Oh, that would be cool, Tom. You should get that for your office.
Yeah. Send your picks to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Couple more of these, and then I'm going to call the end. And I've gotten even more of them in my email. But we talked about how there was the Clue map or the Clue app that was allowing people to report infrastructure problems, and we continue to get them from all over the world. Hey, we've got that too. We got an email that says, I can't find the original article, but there's a city in Mexico where the mayor has everyone tweet him with issues. He tweets to the responsible person, and they tweet back when it's been fixed, which is about as transparent as you can get. And then we also got Asmund, who wanted to point out he is from surprisingly foggy Trondheim, Norway, and says, you talked about the app Clue in Indonesia. There's an open source initiative which has been going on since 2007 called Fix My Street at fixmystreet.com, which lets you do this in the UK, both through a website and through apps. The project has been forked and is being used in several countries, including Norway, Sweden, Germany, Australia, Canada, and many others. I've used the Norway version several times myself, and it's both easy to use, and the response is usually very fast. Really enjoy the show. Thanks for that. He listens to it when he rides his bike to and from work. Probably really easy to spot those potholes and things in your street that need to be fixed, which would make that really handy. I did not know about fixmystreet.com. That's fantastic.
And there's also a version for Detroit called Improve Detroit. Same basic idea. You can go on there and log potholes and all sorts of other issues. So here in the U.S. too.
And if you did not hear me mention the one that you wrote into me about, it's not because I didn't get it. It's not because I didn't read it. We got so many of these. I had no idea how widespread this was. So if you haven't heard of one in your area, go check around. Check out your city government site. Maybe do a search on some kind of local social network or something and see it, because it sounds like they're in most places.
There was a large sinkhole in my local park last week, and I called the Parks Department, and they came and fixed it.
You called them. Which app did you use?
I used a phone.
You used the phone app.
I looked up the phone number, and then
Is that available on Android, the phone app? I don't think I have that one.
I believe it's cross-platform.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so I talked to a human, and then amazingly, they're sending someone to fix it in person. Not even a robot, just an actual human being.
For now.
For now.
Doesn't seem sustainable somehow, but I'm glad it worked.
In 3 years, the robot will get in the autonomous car and drive itself to there, and then fill it with copies of E.T. maybe to fill in the sinkhole.
Yeah, exactly. Just pave it right over.
Human bodies, maybe that too.
We won't need them anymore by that point. Finally, Tyler wrote in and said, hey, last week Veronica mentioned that she has multiple home automation systems running in her home. If she's on DTNS today, which she is, could I ask her which system she is using and her general favorable, unfavorable opinions of them? I told Tyler, I was like, look, that could be a whole show in and of itself. But do you have a couple of things that you use and like that you could throw out there?
I just want to say I'm getting the sense from listeners that they think that I'm not on Mondays very often. I haven't missed a Monday in like 3 months. What's the deal? I'm here. It's Monday. I'm here. I showed up. I show up for work. Don't make side face, Tom. I saw that side eye face. Anyway, so we have Nest. We have Nest at home. We have the Nest camera system and also the temperature control system. We used August Lock. Which I'm not a huge fan of, actually. The newest version has gotten, the newest version of the app has made a lot of improvements that I found, but I maybe have shared this story previously on the show where in the middle of the night, because the phone or the proximity sensor was so close that it would just unlock the front door to the house at 2 o'clock in the morning or at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that was obviously a not optimal experience. We have since turned off the proximity detection for the phone, because the bedroom is within 40 feet of the front door because it's upstairs of it. So that was an issue, but they've solved that pretty much. And we also use the Chamberlain garage system doors and apps for that as well. But I guess those are pretty much the main automated systems we have in the house.
I only use LifeX light bulbs. Which are okay. I don't like having to go to the app to turn them on and off sometimes, but that's an implementation issue on my end. I mean, I could put in some smart switches as well.
I would like more lighting systems. I think that would be the thing I think I would like to automate in the house at some point.
And I use the Nest, which is good.
Yeah, we don't have that aspect built in yet.
What about you, Tim? Or do you have any particular ones you use and like?
We have a Nest as well. We haven't really taken the next step to go with a Nest Protect or anything like that. We haven't really found Nest to be particularly effective for us because the way our house is shaped, it can't really figure out if we're home or not. So that's a bit of a challenge. Have a couple IP cams and that kind of thing. Although we are working on, we just got chickens, so I'm kind of building out a smart chicken coop slowly but surely. So we're going to have things like a door that'll be able to be connected to a Raspberry Pi system and go up and down. We're putting a webcam in there and some other things like that. So the coop will be smarter than the house in the not too distant.
Smart chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Smart chickens.
I don't know about the chickens. I think the chickens are going to be pretty dumb, but the house that they live in should be all right.
Smart for chickens, maybe, but yeah, still chickens.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for the show. Thank you, Tim Stevens, for joining us, man. Especially given the fact that you just got back and you're still adjusting to time zones and all that sort of thing. Really appreciate it.
Always my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
CNET.com if you want
back in time though, which is always cool.
That's true.
did. Yeah. I was 12 hours ahead for a while, but it was pretty nice.
That's right, folks. You got to look at the future today.
Yeah, when everyone was worried about the world ending, I knew it wasn't going to happen.
That's right. I forgot about that. Ooh, I'm glad it didn't end. CNET.com if you want to find more about Tim. Anything in particular to let folks know about going on over there?
There's you can read my coverage from CEATAC on there as well, and I'm going to be kind of quiet on there because I'm going to Detroit and shooting some fun things next week, but I can't talk about that, so sorry to be vague.
You're under the non-Detroit agreements?
I will be improving Detroit with beautiful cars. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Awesome. Can't wait to see that. Veronica Belmont, what do you got going on?
The usual, Tom. The usual.
No non-disclosure agreements?
No, nothing NDA-wise. We've got a couple of good interviews coming up on Sword and Laser. Catherine Valenti is going to be on the show. New episode of Dear Veronica on Gadget every Wednesday. Send those questions in using the hashtag Dear Veronica. And NaNoWriMo's coming up. Before we know it, Tom, are you going to be?
I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been working on my story ideas.
not supposed to be. You're just supposed
No,
to
yeah, I do. I always, you can. There's no wrong way to do it. I think of the story ideas ahead of time so that I'm ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah, Bonnie's been tweeting at me about it and posting Facebook messages. So I feel like Bonnie Burton. So I feel like I gotta
jump in this year?
get ready. I gotta match
Like
Bonnie at least.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you to all the patrons who make our show possible. We couldn't do it without you. If you get some value from the show and you give some value back, thank you very much. If you get some value from the show and you haven't given us anything back, will you consider it? Go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at player.alphageekradio.com and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
And yes, I turned the air conditioner on.
Are you dying down there?
77. It was 74 when I turned it off right before the show.
Oh, in the house?
Yeah.
How hot is it outside?
It's close to 90. It's probably 88, 89.
Yeah, it's 83 here today.
It's like 60 here today, so.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice to have actual fall.
It's pretty okay. The leaves are changing. It's beautiful. I guess I can try turning this around. I don't know if you can see anything. Probably not. No. You can sort of see there's leaves out there anyway, so.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my view. It's pretty okay.
Ugh,
Not bad at all.
it's so hot.
I'd give up the, Ken from Chicago in the chat room is pointing out it's not exactly a either or choice. You could get a car that can be self-driving and human-driven, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could go for that. Be able to tool around upstate.
Yeah. In fact, I was talking with Maserati CEO at the New York Auto Show this year, and he was talking about the transition from one to the next and how it's what they want to do. They're very much a car company that makes luxury performance cars, and autonomy is going to be the next luxury, I think.
We got some show title ideas at showbot.tv. Dude, Dell's getting EMC for those classic Dell commercial fans. Tap to bankruptcy, which, I said it, so I like it. Dell equals EMC squared.
I like for whom the Dell tolls.
For whom the Dell tolls.
That's pretty good.
That is good. Re-RAM. It's not bad. Breaking news in China.
Oh, that's clever.
Very clever.
I'll
Veronica used those special parts to make her robot friends.
I don't get it.
I'll vote for that one too.
It's a line from Mystery Science Theater.
Oh.
Joel used those special parts.
Robo-Bjorn is pretty good, too.
Robo-Bjorn.
Yeah, Robo-Bjorn. I like that one.
That's on topic.
Okay.
Wow, Robo-Bjorn shot to the top, didn't it?
Oh, geez. I should mention that. The special parts is good, though. As a Mystery Science Theater fan, that's got to get my vote, I think.
Jenny would say it's too long.
It is pretty long.
Maybe Robo-Bjorn, then.
On phoned first. It doesn't make any sense, but I like it. Hey, Greedo, I'm going to shoot you. Talk to the feet.
Oh, the feet. Good. Why are you here? I don't get
Yeah, I don't get that one. I'm missing that because Captain Jack is usually got really good, so it's probably just too subtle for me right now.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Why are you here? Why are you here, Captain Jack?
Captain Jack will get you high tonight. Take you to a special island. That's what
Everyone's
Billy
got the
Joel
no
would say.
news is good news, says China, but China didn't say that. Apple said that.
Yeah, exactly. No news is good for us not getting in trouble, apparently.
Yeah.
Robo-Bjorn.
Robo-Bjorn. Or for who that? Yeah, I think Robo-Bjorn is my favorite.
All right.
Good one.
Now,
Got a winner.
the elephant in the room here is this is episode 2600. But it's not really because I made up the episode numbers. So I got a couple of people like, it's episode 2600. That's great. Oh my gosh. The Atari 2600 thing, the 2600 magazine, all of that. And yet it doesn't mean anything.
I asked Tim, why are you here before the show started?
because of the jet lag. That's what it was.
Yeah.
See, I knew it made sense. I
Yeah.
just couldn't figure it out. Got it. Why are you here?
Why are you here? Go to bed.
Go
I
to
wouldn't be
sleep.
here.
No, I feel like we're providing Tim a valuable service and keeping him awake.
You are, yes. No, I actually, when you travel as much as I do, you kind of get used to the whole thing. So I don't really, lucky enough to say I don't really get jet lagged, even going to Japan and back. So we'll see.
That's amazing.
I slept 8 hours last night, and we'll see how I do tonight.
All right. Wow, your body must be really messed up.
It's just, that's the thing. It's like, how does the Hulk control his thing? He's always mad. I'm just always tired. So it works.
I see. Well, you sleep in a bed of blue light, too. That's the problem.
Yeah, did I mention I have cheap LEDs in every light in my house, so the whole house just glows blue all night? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the mattress is infused with blue LEDs that just shine up.
Yeah, I think they help regrow hair as well, and they also improve blood flow and all sorts of other wonderful things. That's not true at all. All right, but I should get running.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it,
pleasure.
as always.
Thanks for having me. And it's good to see you, Veronica.
Bye,
And,
you too.
Take care, everybody. Bye, everybody in the chat room.
Bye, Tim.
Wow, they just Scott announced that they're not doing Nertacular this year. But not
Are they working on a new IP?
No, he said that since 2017 is going to be the 10-year anniversary, they want to take some extra time to plan something really special.
I knew it was a Blizzard excuse. Wow, that's crazy.
There's just a lot of stuff. He's just busy, all his projects, and then
No, you know what? It makes sense. And he is. I joke about the Blizzard thing, but he's taking a cue from Blizzard, which is like, we're not doing BlizzCon this year because we want to do it right or not do it at all, and we're doing all these other things and we don't think we can do it right. And that's what he's saying is, you know what? I want to do the next one really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Oh, it's sad though.
Yeah. I was like, what am I going to do with all this free weekend time in the summer next year?
We could all just show up in Salt Lake City anyway.
Be like, hey guys, you said you were busy, but we're here anyway.
Maybe it's leverage over Snowbird. Like, you'll miss us. Oh, you'll miss us, Snowbird.
You want us back. Bad. No, you do.
You know what? You can help me move.
Okay.
Where are you moving? Don't move. Where are you going? Oh, that baby's asleep. She looks cute.
Yeah, I'm not trying to talk very loud.
That's okay. She's passed out.
You got big, strong arms, Veronica.
I do.
That's pretty good.
My
You've been
yoga
doing-
arms. I'm getting good.
So, is your neck okay? Because I remember reading about the
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it was okay. It's better now. I can work out and go to yoga and do normal stuff. But every morning at like 3 o'clock, I wake up and it's totally clamped up, and I have to I can't get comfortable again. I have to lay flat on my stomach with my head all twisted in weird positions to get it to not hurt.
Do you do the? Did they give you stretches to do?
No, I was supposed to go back to physical therapy, but I haven't yet because I just haven't.
Do you
had
grind your
time.
teeth?
I do, but I have a mouth guard like a nerd.
No, I feel like this is probably pseudoscience. Let me just say this ahead of time.
But I have a mouth guard.
I feel like there's something. Yeah, but what the mouth guard does is treat the symptom, right? I feel like there's something with posture and neck pain and teeth grinding that has some kind of related cause.
Yeah, stress.
Well, stress aggravates it, but I think it's like, even if you're stressed, if you could change that underlying way that your body carries itself, it would solve all of those problems.
It would solve most, but it won't solve. Well, so this is what my chiropractor, and of course, I'm not going to say a chiropractor.
Well, there we go. I go right back to my original.
Well, no, but he said that in the cases he's treated, because I went to him like 3 times because I had the same thing Veronica had. He said that the problem is a lot of people are so used to sitting at a desk and a computer for like hours on end of the day.
No, I'm sure that aggravates it. That's absolutely true.
You form this posture that is irregular for your body, and what happens is your head tilts forward.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about how much your head weighs, depending on how big you are, like my head's probably about 20, 25 pounds. Even if you tilt it forward off its balanced axis, you're putting a lot of strain on your neck and your upper back. And so
the one thing I know is when my dentist told me, like, you have definite signs of grinding your teeth, I started paying attention to it, and I realized that when I kept my neck in a different, more upright position, my jaw relaxed. and I was less likely to grind my teeth, especially sleeping at night.
What he told me is that when you walk, you need to look up. He said it's a natural tendency because of smartphones and things for people to look down. Look up. And what happens is you start kind of pushing your body.
Look forward, not up.
Yeah.
Your shoulders
It
back.
feels like you're looking up, but yeah, you are looking forward.
that,
But
yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it
You
feels
also
like you're
feel
looking up,
better
but you should look forward.
If you're depressed or suffering from depression symptoms, when you're walking, if you keep your shoulders back and keep your head forward, you can kind of trick yourself into feeling a little bit better instead of like kind of
interesting, too.
walking and like slouching, but you're like, oh, I'm strong. Let me
Usually a
really
trip to the
walk.
bar helps with that.
Also, that also, yes. But yeah, it's like doing power poses, being like, I'm big and important in this meeting, like, hello, I'm here for the interview now.
I've always noticed when I put on a suit or even just a jacket, I tend to want to stand up straighter. Like it feels right. Like, oh, I'm in a suit.
The jacket is kind of a straight jacket. It's designed.
Well, I guess that's true too. But I feel like there's a psychological effect as well.
Well, maybe we'll have to plan some other kind of fun family trip in July or June instead of Nerdtacular.
Well, TV Zegon was saying, and I haven't watched the video or anything yet, but that he's going to rent out a theater for the Warcraft movie, and so go back to Nerdtacular's roots, in other words, and do that. It won't be a full-on Nerdtacular, obviously, but he'll at least be doing a Frog Pants related thing.
That would be fun. Yeah.
That is not replacing your family trip, your July family trip.
No. We'll figure something out. We got some time.
Yeah, maybe I just won't go anywhere next year.
Yeah, that kind of sounds nice too.
After so many years, it really oddly does.
Yeah.
Like if you tell me, but Tom, you'll miss this, I will be sad. I'm not saying that I don't like anything I go do. Just the idea of not having to go places in general.
FOMO is always a factor for sure.
What is?
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Well, that's how marketing works.
Yeah.
Don't miss it.
You won't want to miss this episode of Daily Tech News Show. Will you want to talk into the feet of a robot? The answer may surprise you. Don't miss the next DTNS. What Roger? Do you remember which segment it was that Prager wrote? The answer may surprise you.
I used to write it before he even got hired.
No, I know, but he wrote it once. I think it was right after we all had a discussion about that particular thing. I just remember the Lotus Notes calendar entry for it, and everyone just laughing.
Oh no, the problem is we used it for everything.
Yeah, and I think maybe it was because he was new and people didn't realize. I don't know. It was
that show. After Josh Gingold left, it wasn't the tightest ship.
Oh, now.
Well, no, it was just because now...
Website was pretty good.
Yeah, I guess.
Time makes things seem better, Tom, than they...
It's a salve. Okay, cool. I'll work on doing all the stuff I normally do, and then opening the door for my landlord in 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still just uploading, but we're pretty much done if you guys need to go.
Yeah, so other than Jenny out all week, is there anything special I should be aware of?
Well, Veronica's here.
What?
It's always
here.
special.
When are you going to visit me, Veronica? You never want to visit. You're always busy.
I want to visit. I don't. You have a life and a baby. I don't want to just say, "Well, I'm coming over."
Well, you never did that even before I had a baby.
Well, yeah. What? I'm just gonna come to your house. What do you want me to do here?
That's the only. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do.
Just go visit people that are your friends at their house. It's weird. What are you even talking about? Who does that? Just like drive there.
What is this? The 1930s?
The 1980s.
I do get to your neighborhood somewhat occasionally.
You're not that far from his neighborhood.
Just like, you're like 15.
You could walk to his house.
No, I couldn't.
Sure you could.
Yeah.
It would take like an hour.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it would take 45 minutes. I've walked to your.
I used to walk to his house from
I've
up
not
in
walked to my house.
Crescent Heights.
I will say that walking that distance and back again has really firmed up my mid.
Would you walk to the Glen Park BART station?
Me? I used to do it all the time.
Me?
Yeah.
I guess it's further than 24th Street.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe.
Don't give too much
Not
away.
so hot out. If it gets less hot out,
Yeah.
walk over.
And it will.
I have to take the dog out, but neither of us want to go outside. It's too. Oh, look what she's doing right now. Hold on.
Well, the pavement might be really hot
So look at her.
right now. Oh, Bodega.
You know what's funny is
Bodega and Ellie are napping.
Yeah.
They're just passed out little ladies. I want them to hang out and meet, though. That would be a good idea.
Yeah. Well, actually, Jen wants her to see more animals.
Okay, well then maybe you should come over here.
Yeah, but you have those. Your entryway is very scary for me with a child. That's why.
Okay, fine. Well,
All right. Goodbye, everybody. I'm out of the post.
Flames and poison spikes, and then it'll be less scary.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.